Last week, Hugging Face, the AI platform, got hacked. Someone gained access to their systems, stole credentials, and even accessed internal datasets. Then, believe it or not, OpenAI released a post saying it was them. An unreleased model broke out of its sandbox, gained access to the open internet, and then decided on its own to hack Hugging Face. And it did all of that just because it was trying to cheat on a test. Today, we're going to go through what both OpenAI and Hugging Face have to say about all of this, and how Hugging Face ran all of their forensics with an open weight Chinese model because the commercial models refused to look at the attack data. And we cover AI and security stories constantly on this channel, so if you want to stay up to date, then subscribe to Better Stack. OpenAI run an internal eval which scores models on a cyber benchmark called ExploitGym. It prompts them to go after hard exploitation problems like chaining attack paths together. And the point of this is to measure how cyber capable all of these models actually are. And to get real numbers out of this, they run it with production classifiers switched off so the model doesn't refuse to run a certain task halfway through the measurement. There are two models in the mix, GPT 5.6 Sol, which you can use today, and a pre-release model which OpenAI describe as more capable, but currently it's unnamed. And both of these run in an isolated environment with no real network. The only real connection to the outside world is a proxy sitting in front of package registries so the model can at least install packages. The model spent a substantial amount of compute trying to get online, even though they were supposed to be spending that time on the security challenges they'd been given. The model then luckily, or unluckily depending on who you are, found a zero-day bug in that proxy package and then exploited it. It's third-party software that OpenAI host internally, and they have since notified the vendor. And from there, it's just a completely normal intrusion. They elevate privileges, moving from one machine to the next inside OpenAI's research environment until they land on a node with internet access. Once they were online, the models worked out that Hugging Face probably hosted the datasets and solutions to ExploitGym, so that's where they went. What OpenAI described next is more stolen credentials, more 0 days, and then a remote code execution path directly on Hugging Face's servers. Unbelievably, the model then just pulled the test solution directly from Hugging Face's production database. And nobody told the model to do any of these things. Specifically, it just worked it out on its own. OpenAI security team had already spotted the strange activity on their side, but before that, Hugging Face had already detected it on theirs and started containing the problem before the companies had even spoken. Hugging Face actually published their own write-up, and it's definitely worth a read because it's effectively the defender's view of the exact same situation. And the way the model actually got in was through a malicious dataset. Hugging Face's dataset pipeline had two paths that would execute code, and both of those will actually run third-party code inside Hugging Face's infrastructure, but all of that is actually by design because running other people's code is effectively what a dataset pipeline is for in this case. From code execution on a processing worker, they got node level access, harvested cloud and cluster secrets, and moved across several internal clusters. For persistence, they ran a swarm of short-lived sandboxes with command and control that kept migrating between public services. The damage here was a limited set of internal datasets and a handful of service credentials. Hugging Face found no tampering at all with public spaces and models, so given how bad this could have been, that's a pretty decent outcome. If you do have tokens on Hugging Face though, just rotate them and then switch to fine-grained tokens instead. And that's about the only thing that you need to go and do. So the interesting thing here is that the detection and forensics was also done by AI. Their anomaly detection runs LLM-based triage over security telemetry. And that is basically what flagged the entire issue in the first place. Then they pointed analysis agents at the attacker's action log, which was over 17,000 recorded events, and then just had the whole thing reconstructed in a few hours. But annoyingly, they couldn't use a commercial model to do any of this. They tried one first, but then the guardrails refused. Because what you feed a forensic model is a pile of exploit payloads, so the safety training does exactly what it's meant to do and blocks it. So Hugging Face self-hosted GLM 5.2, which is ZAI's open weight model, ran the analysis on that instead, and that worked fine. Okay, now let's look at how OpenAI are responding to all of this. They've listed 5 follow-up actions, and they're roughly what you would expect. They're locking down infrastructure configuration, and they openly say that this costs them research velocity. They've disclosed the 0 day to the vendor. They're investigating alongside Hugging Face, and they've pulled them into the trusted access program, so the defenders get the same capabilities. And the part that I found super interesting was that these models found these exploits through a novel attack path without being given any guidance at all. They were given a separate task and then just went off and did all of this. So that could be slightly concerning depending on how these models develop in the future and the guardrails around them. And if you do want to learn more about the specific model at the center of this, then we have done a specific video on GPT 5.6 you can watch here. Otherwise, I've been Warren from BetterStack. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.